Thank you very much for joining us on this exclusive interview with the Director General of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, Major General Mohammed Badi, who's been in office for just about 6 months now. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Major General.
Thank you very much.
Let's just begin from, when you got into office about 6 months ago. What did you find? What was the state of Nairobi in your view?
Remember that we all live in Nairobi. So whatever shortages that were there or your experiences in terms of the services that the common citizen is supposed to get, we all suffered the same. So it was not strange to me when taking over that there were certain shortages, essential services that Nairobi citizens deserve and were not getting. I embarked immediately. In fact, I think I was sworn in the afternoon, and at night I was there supervising the garbage collection. And I'm glad within the 200 days or so I've been in office, all the tasks that I've been given by His Excellency to achieve, I have hit the 100% mark.
You've spoken as Wananchi, we saw and we've experienced, the situation. But when you went in there, where it's like the engine, so to speak, was it surprising to you?
It was not a surprise. As I said, we all live in Nairobi. But in the midst of it, yes, I saw a lot of suffering that you cannot see on the surface when you travel, especially in the slums and the informal sector. Most of the time we tend to assume what happens in the slum. But when you get in the middle of it, then you see the people suffering. And then on humanitarian point of ground, it becomes now a duty for you to serve the people.
Like has been known, there was the strained relationship between yourself and the governor. At a point, he wanted to pull out of the deal altogether. What for you do you feel was the genesis of this? As much as, it's understandable that he felt his power is going.
Well, I can't talk on his side, but my side, I would say I was actually more focused on service delivery rather than the politics of it. So I thought the difference is mainly the politicians, once you serve the common citizen well, they think you are suppressing their votes. And I think that should be an issue as far as I'm concerned. But I don't see any major differences between the governor and myself. We have strict mandates. He handed over those functions. And I'm just doing the job on his behalf also.
There are some functions that are not transferred to you. So do you have any influence on that? Because that could potentially be, again, a space for conflict.
Yes, there are some cross-cutting issues in terms of finance, in terms of administration. So yes, we have teething problems, but for now we have sorted them out. Because remember that we were even taken to court to challenge the transfer of the 4 functions. But recently, I think there was a judgment that I take over everything of the 4 functions.
So what is your relationship right now with the governor?
Well, I can say we are in talking terms. I have no issues with the governor personally, because mine is just service delivery on the 4 functions, and I'm just focused on that.
What many people know military, the disciplined forces, very strict, and maybe you come into what they call kawaida, civil servants,
Yeah.
You're meant to be at work at 9, someone walks in at 11, hangs their coat and leaves. How has that transition been for you?
I was lucky enough, the people posted to me were from national government. So I set my agenda from day one. I explained to the officers that this service must be done. The turnaround time to make the changes must be felt.
Do you feel that it's a genuine concern that people feel that like Nairobi, for instance, is being militarized?
Where it had reached, the common citizen was not worried who their leader was, whether uniform or non-uniform. They just wanted the essential service. And I think they saw the difference and they've appreciated it. So the issue of militarization does not come in. It just comes the issue on who's a better manager.
In July, you were on NTV's show, Your World, speaking to Joseph Warungu. And he asked you, like, Nairobians woke up and found, roads are being dug up, like he said, for good reason. However, there was the feeling that people were not as, the Wananchi were not as involved in terms of awareness and participation. And your response was that you preferred to start the work, then not the publicity. So that in a way may also look like, is it like a military kind of way of doing it in terms of there's not much, discussions on the side, let's just go, go, go?
I would not look at it that way because most of the plans are implementing. I inherited them. So I just came to perform. These plans were there, they were created, and any government, whether it's county or national, they have the year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plans. So all these plans, I inherited them, that these were plans made by their respective leaders, but were not implemented.
Fixing Nairobi has been quite a task, so to speak. Even the president himself has acknowledged that. And, that's when they came up with the Nairobi Regeneration, which in itself, which was co-chaired by the governor and cabinet secretary. So it actually had the hand of the national government, but this still did not work. Because in the president's words, the committee proved to be an inadequate measure and as it was incapable of effectively taking charge and directing the changes that needed to be implemented. What do you think was not done that you will do that will actually make these things happen? We saw some red paint being put on Thika Road in the BRT plan. The buses were meant to come June or thereabouts. So what do you think was not being done or was missing that you bring onto the table?
From the background of military, we look at plans and implement them. The politics of whether doing them or don't is something maybe I have an advantage on because I don't think of the consequences so long as the plans are going to benefit the common Wananchi. So I think it's a duty for me to deliver. To me, I'm not looking for votes.
So you're saying the likely challenge was that there were political considerations with the other teams?
True.
Nairobi metropolitan area has been defined, at least when we're having the county containment because of the COVID-19 pandemic, included parts of Kajiado, Kiambu, Machakos counties. So do you have any control on those parts?
I cannot say I have control because remember that the tasks I'm given are limited in scope. So only concerning the tasks that were transferred is the ones that we coordinate with the neighboring countries because as much as they need me, I need them. So it's a matter of just coordination and collaborating. I cannot say it's a matter of control because I'm not an elected leader. I'm rather an appointed leader.
Just for the sake of clarity, some areas, if you go on the Mombasa Road side, you'll find before you get to Athi River, the areas which are Machakos County, but they fall within, the metropolis.
Yes.
And one of the functions transferred to you is health. So let's say, for instance, there was a hospital there that had an issue. So who will the buck stop with, yourself or Governor Alfred Mutua?
Remember that Nairobi metropolis is national government. So the way we would look at it is the holistic way of it. National government would come in. Remember that whatever we do here, we coordinate with Ministry of Health. So we will be under the guidance of Ministry of Health on how to implement any measures between us and Machakos, us and Kajiado, and so forth.
In July, you're on record saying that 24 facilities were going to be built in some informal settlements in Nairobi by September. We are in September, we're about to close the month. Are these 24 hospitals ready?
Initially, the task of building the hospital was given to the county, but the mandate to build them was given to Ministry of Health. So there was an administrative issue which caused some procurement delays. But I've taken over fully. Those 5 I'm reviving and continuing to complete them, and 19 new facilities we are doing them. They'll not finish by end of September, but end of November. God willing, we should have all the hospitals up, running, equipped, and staffed by end of November.
End of November, we will pick it up with you, yes, because you've said the hurdles have now been sort of cleared out.
They've been cleared out.
How many new jobs will those be in this hospital?
We are going to create almost 400 jobs in the medical sector.
Okay. And let's just revisit, now that we're on that, the Pumwani hospital situation. And, you know, where the woman had to deliver, unfortunately, on the road outside a hospital, where she was denied entry. And the statement that NMS put out said that it is the nurse from Pumwani, it implicated the nurse from Pumwani, you know, came and helped with the delivery, but there's a lady who's not, you know, a nurse who actually did the delivery herself. The Pumwani staff came after the fact, so to speak. Do you still stand by that statement now that it appears to have been wrong, factually?
First, it's a regrettable incident. Remember, the people manning the gate at Pumwani Hospital is a private security company who were ignorant of the fact that despite the nurses being on strike, the hospital was still operational. So they turned away that victim or denied entry because of the nurses' strike that time, or it's medical staff that had gone on strike. Yes, the lady delivered, but the nurse is the one who came to cut the umbilical cord and all. By the time the nurse heard the noise from top and came down, remember there were essential staff still on duty. By the time she came, she had, yes, delivered, but not completely, because she's the one who did the umbilical cord and then pulled them into the hospital for the care.
Now let's move to water. And this has been a huge challenge to various estates in Nairobi, Langata, Umoja, name it. And recently we've been seeing NMS branded trucks taking water. What is the status right now of water supply? Are we at a place where we can say every estate now has water?
No, we have not reached there. Because this is an infrastructural problem. So the trunk infrastructure of water is what is lacking to cope with the capacity that Nairobi needs. It's not that we don't have water, we have. But the infrastructure cannot carry the amount that Nairobi consumes. Nairobi consumes around 800,000 cubic meters per day. The current infrastructure can only supply 525,000 a day. So you see there's almost around 300,000 cubic meters per day shortage. So yes, it is a problem, but we are addressing it by building new infrastructure. There is the northern corridor. But hopefully early next year we'll have improved, would have laid that new infrastructure, It will increase the capacity by another 150,000, and we want to lay another pipe to the existing one to cater for another 100,000. So we'll near the capacity of what Nairobi needs by next year.
So, but between the time you came into office and now, we've seen at least some improvement in terms of supply in some areas, not all of them. And given that, you know, the infrastructure you speak about is not yet there, so where is this, quote, extra water coming from?
Remember, there was a lot of diversion of water. There was a lot of illegal connection of water. When you don't supply certain areas, especially informal settlements, you will find them redirecting the water to cater for needs. But when NMS was formed, remember it was just when COVID had hit the country.
Yes.
So our immediate measures was first to borrow 10 water bowsers so that we can supply informal settlement to cater for the challenge of COVID. But after that, we bought our own 22 water bowsers that are working 24 hours now, delivering water to all informal and disadvantaged areas. Apart from that, remember during my first days in office, we dug with Ministry of Water 93 boreholes. And now I'm completing the second 100 days, I've completed another 100 boreholes. Mostly in areas that have been hard affected by water, or some areas they've never had water at all. So I believe these 193 boreholes will cater for the shortage because they supply around 12,000 cubic meters per day. Even our estates, if you look like, people have, whether authorized or not authorized, a lot of people, because of shortages, have decided to dig their own boreholes.
Yes.
So if you count the boreholes in Nairobi, they are in thousands. But we will find a bill that will regulate the usage of boreholes in the future once we have repaired the infrastructure.
And one thing I noticed is that I believe every weeknight or every night, CBD, we've got those water bowsers pouring water on the roads, basically cleaning the roads. Do you feel it's a priority in light of there being some people who don't have basic drinking water?
I can say there's no area that we do not cover providing free water. Remember all these boreholes that we have sunk? We are providing plus piping, plus 100,000 liter tank on top, and plus a food kiosk where we give it to the youth to distribute it to their people. So one, we have alleviated people from poor communities. Remember that the amount of money they used to buy water is more than what you and I get a bill from Nairobi Water. So these people are suffering. So most of the time, the water bowsers in the evening are free. But you will see us withdrawing them soon because we have now brought proper vehicles that wash, clean, brush, all the tarmac services. Remember, this is a normal practice in most of international cities around the world. So we want to keep up that stuff.
So we're staying in that league.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the traffic issues. And you want, in November, matatus will no longer be coming into the CBD.
Yes.
This has been tried before. It did not work out.
Yeah.
So how are you going to make sure that this works out?
Remember that we are in the process of making up these bus terminals for every route. They were not there before. That's why the resistance. But once you prepare a proper bus terminals, where every route will have an endpoint just before entering CBD, they are not losing business. If you are coming from Gong and coming to town, you still pay the same to be dropped off Railway Club. After all, Railway Club and CBD is walking. Once you have crossed the road, you are in CBD. So they are not going to lose business. They are still going to maintain their routes. So we have engaged them and provided that we make the basic facilities. Remember, these are areas where if the county planning was done properly, this should have been built a long time ago.
So when do you expect to see the BRT buses? Because this has been a promise since 2018. We saw some red markings done on Thika Superhighway. They are faded at the moment still, but the buses, we've not seen them. When are we expecting this to?
You'll be seeing them soon. Not only the buses, but also the trains have arrived. Remember that we'll be ferrying people from outside Nairobi to a railway station. That's why we are now renovating the railway station, which will be named Railway City.
So soon, is this in the November plan?
Yes, or even earlier if we can get. We are fighting to achieve it before November.
How much public land is still in the hands of grabbers?
You see, you cannot tell so easily because some of this land was grabbed around 20, 25 years ago. It has changed hands through several citizens. Now it's legally it's so hard to get back that land because the person who holds the title deed now is totally innocent of what happened 20 years ago to this land, and the records don't show that it was grabbed.
When you speak about the environment, and we've seen a lot of trees being cut down, the environment seems to be losing out and we're becoming more of a concrete jungle.
We are, because the 10% cover is actually a rule. So for every tree that is brought down because of development, we do insist, like the roads that are being made, for every tree, the contractor has to replant another tree. So those are part of the rules or approvals to get for you to do any development.
By the time Mike Sonko and at the time his deputy Igade took over the city, it was in debt of 58 billion shillings. Pretty much it was insolvent. What is the current state of our Nairobi economy, so to speak, the county government?
The debt is still there. It has not gone away.
So where are we now?
I cannot give the exact figure, but what we are trying to improve is on revenue collection.
Has revenue collection gone up?
It has gone up since KRA has taken over the revenue collection, but that's not enough. We are putting new measures to ensure that now everything becomes digital. You know, the change of cash usually has got some sort of excitement with some of our revenue collectors.
So when you say it's increased, from what are we collecting before and what is being collected now?
What I know is from the time KRA and us took over, it has almost doubled. The amount has almost doubled. So, and that's not enough. We still haven't embarked on all avenues of revenue collection. And hopefully before end of this year, everything will be digital online. And we hope by then our record at least will go 3 or 4 times more.
Might you, Major General, have any political ambitions? Because you might find people saying, you, ametenda, amesema na akatenda.
No, I don't at the moment, since I'm still a serving officer. We remain apolitical, so I'm not affiliated to any party. So I will not think so long as I'm in uniform. And I've still got a few more years.
How many years do you have to go?
I still have 2 more years to serve, so maybe after next elections, not these ones coming.
And again, it sounds like a very busy schedule. How long is your work day?
I usually start 7:30. I sometimes have to chase people off at 6 because I go around inspecting projects myself. So I usually reach home after 9 to 10 every day. I also
7 days a week?
Yes, I work on weekends also. We go inspecting projects. Remember, there is a lot to do, and without physically going around to supervise and inspect projects, I believe you may be left out of the speed at which things are moving. So sitting in the office doesn't help. Especially from us military background, we believe in seeing it yourself.
And I mean, how do you then strike the balance? Because I know, like, as much as you're military, at times we see you guys as the hard, but you also have the family values which are very big for the military.
It is true.
So how do you then strike that balance of work life?
Yeah, at the moment, you must sacrifice. These are challenging times. If you sacrifice your time, I know it's hard for the family, but this is not a permanent way of life. So this is just to correct the ills that were done. And I'm sure as the pressure reduces, I'll have more time for the family, just like before I came to this post. So that's why I try to work around the clock to ensure that we achieve a lot within short time. Then there can be time of relaxing.
And we saw you with a bird on your birthday. Is it a hobby?
No. That was when I was in course in the UK. We used to have that eagle to play around with. It's quite an expensive hobby, so I don't think I'll pick on it.
Right. Thank you very much, Major General, for speaking to us. We've been speaking to Major General Mohammed Badi, who's the Director General of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. We've been having the conversation at the Sarova Stanley. My name is